Hello everyone, welcome back to another English language video. Today we are focusing on language paper 2 section B. So specifically looking at writing an article. So we have the following question which reads, our addiction to cheap clothes and fast fashion means young people in poorer countries have to work in terrible conditions to make them. We must change our attitude to buying clothes now. Write an article for a magazine or website in which you argue your point of view on this statement. Now it's 24 marks for content and organization, 16 marks for technical accuracy, and of course it's 40 marks. Now we need to break down the question, look at the important parts of the statement. So our addiction to cheap clothes and fast fashion, that's important here, so I'm going to highlight that. Means young people in poorer countries have to work in terrible conditions to make them. We must change our attitude to buying clothes now. So you have to argue your point of view on this statement. So again, the examiner is not looking for the right or wrong answer. They are looking for you to show the following. So you need to mention or follow the use of the triple C. So your answer must be compelling, convincing communication. Compelling, convincing communication. So what do we mean by that? So compelling, your answer must be interesting. So when the examiner reads your answer, it has to sound interesting. Secondly, it has to be convincing. So when the examiner reads your answer, it should sound believable, it should sound persuasive. And lastly, your communication needs to be clear. Okay, so there needs to be clarity with your answer. So that's something that you need to remember. Now, the question itself, remember, it's out of 24, so AO5 is out of 24 marks. And this focuses on the content and organization. So it's the quality of your ideas. Remember, quality over quantity. So focus on the quality of your writing. So you will get a mark for AO5 out of 24. And AO6, you will get a mark out of 16. So out of 16, and that's focusing on your SPAG, so your spelling, punctuation and grammar. Have you used accurate spelling throughout your writing? Do you have a variety of punctuation, and is your grammar accurate? So that's something that you need to focus on. So AO5 and AO6, these are the skills that are being assessed. Now the question itself, you are asked this time to write an article. So as you are writing an article, there are certain things that you need to include, and we shall be going over it today. So when writing an article, you need to include certain things. So we are going to be covering these in today's session. Now when writing an article, the first thing you need to include, of course, is a clear, appropriate title. Okay, now the title that you write, that you think of, preferably it may be an alliterative title. Okay, an alliterative title, and possibly a pun. So you may want to see how you can use a pun. A pun is a play on the words, so it's like a joke with the words. So see if you can use a pun within your answer, because that can get you extra marks as well. And not only that, when writing an article, the second thing that you need to include is a strapline. So what is a strapline? A strapline in simple terms is 2 to 3 sentences that will give the readers, the examiners, an insight of what the article will be talking about. So again, it shouldn't be complex, it should be straightforward. And it's almost like a trailer for the rest of your article. Following that, you will need subheadings. So of course, subheadings will divide your answer into the individual paragraphs. You will have an introductory overview paragraph. So an introductory overview paragraph. And finally, you need to ensure that your answer is effectively written. So it's effectively written and it's fluently sequenced paragraphs. So fluently sequenced paragraphs. So what do we mean by that? So in simple terms, this means every paragraph that you write, they need to link with one another. So it needs to flow from paragraph 1 to paragraph 2, paragraph 3, etc. Now, this is what you need to include when writing an article. So you can take a screenshot of this or make notes as we go through the presentation. But this is what you need to do when writing an article. Now, another acronym that we are going to cover today is something called DeForest. So if I just rub this out very quickly. So DeForest is an acronym that we use for Language Paper 2, question 5, so persuasive writing. So I'm just going to go over it very quickly in today's session. So it's got D, A, F, O, R, E, S, T. So preferably your answer should consist of a variety of DeForest techniques. So what does each letter stand for? The first one stands for direct address. So what is direct address is when you speak directly to the reader using words like you. A is alliteration. Anecdote. And anaphora. Alliteration is when you have two or more words that start with the same first letter. An anecdote is a short personal story that is used to reflect your point of view. Anaphora is a form of repetition when there's a particular sentence that is repeated throughout your article. F, we've got facts and figures. Facts and figures. So facts and figures again is using true statements, okay, and figures obviously using numbers to back up your point. O is oxymoron. So oxymoron is when you have two words placed together with contrasting meanings. R is repetition / rhetorical question. So again, very simple but effective when writing an article. Repetition, when you repeat a particular word or phrase throughout your answer. Again, it's used to emphasize a particular thing or idea. Rhetorical question is a question that requires no answer. E is emotive language. So emotive language is words, phrases that evoke a particular emotion. And also for E, we've got expert opinion. So this is opinion from an expert, someone with knowledge, someone with experience. Why do we use expert opinion? We use expert opinion because it adds credibility to your argument. S is similes. We've got sibilance and statistics. So similes, using like or as to compare something. We've got sibilance is using two or more letters or words rather that have the soft S sounds, and statistics is of course using figures to prove your point. Last but not least is the rule of 3. So I'm just going to write 3 or brackets rule of 3. So using 3 adjectives, for example, to describe something. So this is DeForest, and this is something which is simple but effective, an effective way to write a persuasive answer. So this is DeForest for you. So do make a note of this, as it will be handy for your upcoming exams. So following that, we have a checklist that we should follow when writing an answer for question 5. So I'm just going to rub this out very quickly. And it's something that if you follow, it is again correlating with the mark scheme. So it's something that I also teach my own students. So it's the 2-2-2 rule. So 2-2-2. So the first 2 stands for AV, which is ambitious vocabulary. Have you used ambitious vocabulary in your answer? The next 2 is 2P, which is punctuation. Have we used a variety of punctuation? And we're not just talking about full stops and commas. They do not count. Okay, these are expected from the exam board. They do expect you to know how to use full stops and commas. So we're looking for a variety, as mentioned in the mark scheme, a great variety of punctuation. But don't overdo it. You need to be able to use it accurately. And finally, to the forest. So this is what we just have gone over. You have to use at least 2 types of the forest techniques. Now, your individual paragraphs need to show examples of all of these. Okay, so 2 ambitious vocabulary. So ambitious vocabulary is highly descriptive words. And then you've got 2 punctuation, at least 2 types of punctuation in your paragraph. And finally, to the forest. So again, a variety of language techniques. So this is something that if you can follow, you should be able to achieve the top bands, a level 4 response, because as mentioned in the mark scheme, for AO5, you would be able to achieve a level 4, the highest band, because your answer, first of all, is detailed, and second of all, is perceptive as well. So that's something for you to consider. Now, again, you don't have to use it, but it's a great guidance. So if you do follow it, you are likely to do well in your exam. So this is something for you to learn, practice, and use to answer the question. And this is specifically for language paper 2. So you can use it for question 5 for language paper 2. Now, why is this important? Why is this effective? First of all, because AO5 and AO6 mention for level 4, your answer must be compelling, convincing communication. Okay, so compelling, convincing communication. So if you look at the mark scheme and if you look at what's mentioned here, this and this, they go hand in hand. So if you can use it together and you can use it concisely and accurately, then for sure you will be able to achieve the top bands. Okay, so upper level 4. Now, they do mention in the mark scheme the extensive and ambitious use of vocabulary with sustained crafting of linguistic devices. So if you can use this together, for sure you'll be able to achieve a high mark. So that's that. So it's something that you should be using when answering the question. I'm just going to rub this out as we are going to do a plan for the question. Now, the question itself, you are advised to plan your answer to question 5 before you start to write. So we'll create a brief plan, and a simple way that I teach my students to plan for question 5 is using the acronym MESS. So M is money, E is education, / environment, S is self, and the final S is society. So just to summarize, how does it relate to money? So in terms of fast fashion, for example, we can write, okay, I'm just writing in note form, it creates jobs for the local people, and it also promotes economic growth. Now, if you think about it, if it creates jobs for the local people, these people are able to earn an income, okay? And if it allows them to earn some money, even if it's a small amount, it's better than earning nothing, okay? So that's something that you can mention for money. Next up, we've got E, which is education / environment. Now, in terms of education, environment, there are many things you can say here. So first of all, I would say that in terms of education, it's a booming sector and it's continuously growing. So it's a booming sector, it's continuously growing, which promotes healthy competition. Okay, it promotes healthy competition. Healthy competition. Now, why is that a good thing? Because if you have healthy competition, you have employers who would be offering higher wages. If they're offering higher wages, is that not beneficial for the local people? Yes, absolutely. So that's something for you to consider and talk about. And then S for self. So how does it impact you as a person? For sure, if fast fashion is a booming sector, then us as the consumers, we will have a wider choice of clothes. Wider choice of clothes, and it becomes accessible or even more accessible. And isn't that a good thing for us as the buyers, as the purchasers? For sure. And finally, S is society. How does it benefit society? Okay, first of all, I would say for people as a whole, it's convenient. It becomes convenient because often you're shopping online through these fast fashion brands. It saves us time. It saves us time. It saves us money. Who doesn't want to save money? That's everyone, right? Saves money. And most of all, everything is online. Everything is online. And think about the future. Everything will be online as well. So future is online. Okay, so this is how I would plan for my question 5. So using mess. So first of all, you would need to know the following. So the 2-2-2 rule. Okay, and you'd need mess. So they go hand in hand together. So it will take you some time, but over time you will be able to do this within 5 minutes. And again, this is something that requires practice. But once you've done this, so you've got the planner and you've got these ideas, the question itself should be very straightforward. You wouldn't have any issues at all. Now, what we'll do is we'll get started with the question and show you how to answer the question. So I'm just going to rub this out and we'll look at the question together. Now, as mentioned, we need a title for this question. So my title for this question, remember, ideally it should be alliterative or even have a pun within the title. So my title will be the following. So I'm just going to scroll down. So it's going to be fast fashion. Hang on, let's write that out. Fast fashion dash bringing smiles to the unfortunate click by click. Okay, so that's my title. Now, if you've noticed within the title, why is this an effective title? Because I've used alliteration, fast fashion. I've used a dash for effect. Fast fashion, dash, it creates a pause and emphasis. Bringing smiles to the unfortunate. So here is referring to the employees who once did not have a job, but now due to fast fashion, they have a job. And how is it bringing smiles to the unfortunate? It's bringing smiles to the unfortunate click by click. So I've actually used a pun here. Okay, I've used a pun because if you think about it, when you shop online, you are clicking, isn't it? When you buy something from Zara or Next, you're clicking and you're purchasing something online. Now, every time you click and you buy something, you are bringing smiles to people's faces because indirectly, you are paying the wages. So, of course, fast fashion in this light is beneficial for people. Now, moving on, I'm going to move on to the strapline. So, as mentioned previously, when you write an article, you'll need a title followed by a strapline. So my strapline will be the following. So in the last decade, fast fashion has taken over the world by storm. Full stop. It has provided opportunities at a fast pace. And has blessed the unfortunate. Okay, full stop. Imagine what these destitute people would be doing without the birth of fast fashion. Okay, full stop. So that's my strapline. So in the last decade, fast fashion has taken over the world by storm. Okay, that's my first sentence. It's showing you how fast fashion is becoming increasingly popular. It has provided opportunities at a fast pace. Notice how I've used repetition with fast fashion and fast pace. And has blessed the unfortunate. I've used repetition of the word unfortunate from the title. Imagine what these destitute people would be doing without the birth of fast fashion. That's actually a question here. So imagine what these destitute people would be doing without the birth of fast fashion. I've ended up with a rhetorical question. So it gets the readers thinking, what is fast fashion and how can it benefit them? So that's my strapline complete. So again, simple, effective, okay? It's 2 to 3 sentences and it already is a snapshot of what I will be talking about in my article. So what we'll do is we'll move on to my first paragraph now. So if okay, I'll leave one line for after the strapline. So let's begin. So for example, I could begin by saying, by simply shopping online, you are, so direct address, you are putting food on a struggling individual's plate. Full stop. How does it feel? I might use some metaphor here. How does it feel doing God's work? So I've used a metaphor here and also a rhetorical question, showing you how, as the consumers, how just by simply shopping online, you are making a change. You are making a change to someone else's life. Now, I would like to plug in a statistic and see how that can add weight to my argument. So I'm going to say, in a recent study, carried out by, remember, when you give statistics, give it from authority, carried out by Sky News, a staggering 72% of factory employees would have no other source of income if the factories did not exist, or if the factories had not existed. Okay, full stop. So what I've done here is I've used a statistic again to add weight to my argument so that it sounds convincing. Remember, they mention in the mark scheme for your answer to be compelling and convincing. Now let's move on to the next page so we can continue. And then I'll probably going to say how the factories itself, yes, although they are dangerous, they are able to survive. Okay, yes, the conditions are harsh and hostile, but they need the money so they can feed themselves and their families. So remember to use ambitious vocabulary as well along the way. So there is no doubt the factories are perilous. So perilous means dangerous. But let me reassure you, so that's direct address, but let me reassure you, these employees, so this is referring to the factory workers, these employees are able to survive and feed their loving families. Okay. Additionally, this has welcomed economic growth. In the third world, remember, often these fast fashion companies, the factories are in the third world. And as a result, it has created compelling outcomes. Compelling meaning interesting. Dash, simply superb. So we're trying to sort of put the message across that fast fashion, ever since the fast fashion sector has begun, it has made a life-changing impact to people in the third world. The opportunities that they have, and considering it's a booming sector, wages are going to rise because you have more competition between the fast fashion corporations, and the more competition means the more money for the company. That means that they can pay their employees even more. So for sure that is seen as a benefit. Now that would be my title, my strapline, and my first paragraph complete. So let's sort of review and see why this is an effective an article. In terms of the title, we've already spoken about the title, the strapline. So the first paragraph, why is it an effective first paragraph? So let's sort of highlight and go over the reasons why that is. So as seen here, by simply shopping online, you are putting food on a struggling individual's plate. How does it feel doing God's work? So that's an example of a metaphor. And also, when you write, make sure you are being cautious with your spelling. In a recent, so I think, yeah, maybe just I was writing quickly, but anyways, in a recent study carried out by Sky News, a staggering 72%. Okay, so that's using if you follow the 2-2-2 rule. I've so far used the following. So if you just make a checklist, so 2-2-2. So the first two is AV, then P, then the forest. So how does it feel doing God's work? That would be one of your deforest techniques. The second one is a staggering 72%. Again, that would be another of your deforest techniques. Now, one thing I did want to mention, similes, metaphors, some of them are not mentioned here, but you still are expected to use them. So again, these are essentially all the techniques. So have I used 2 techniques? Yes, tick. A staggering 72% of factory employees would have no other source of income if the factories had not existed. There is no doubt the factories are perilous. So I'm going to highlight that. So there's no doubt the factories are perilous. So perilous is in fact an example of ambitious vocabulary. Okay. So if I go back to my first page. So I can tick off the ambitious vocabulary. And have we used any other ambitious vocabulary within this paragraph? Okay, so let's have a look. It may be here somewhere. There's no doubt the factories are perilous, but let me reassure you, these employees are able to survive and feed their loving families. Additionally, this has welcomed economic growth in the third world. And as a result, it has created compelling outcomes. Okay, so I would say compelling here is an example of ambitious vocabulary. So if I go back to our checklist, this for sure is an example of using ambitious vocabulary. So I can tick this off. Now, finally, 2P. Have I used 2 types of punctuation? Yes, I've used one here. I can see I've used a question mark, tick. And also I've used a dash here, which is a tick. Okay, so if I go back, that is me meeting the success criteria of the 2-2-2 formula. So this is again a breakdown of the expected standards for question 5. So it's again a plan, and how you follow a plan, okay, is crucial in order for you to achieve the highest marks possible. Now, again, this is something that if you can do consistently throughout your answer, you should be able to score the highest band possible, so grade 9 response. So just to wrap up and just to remind you again, remember each paragraph has to consist of 2 AV, which is ambitious vocabulary, 2 punctuation, and 2 types of De Forest techniques. And remember in terms of the plan, we went over an acronym called MESS. Okay, so you use these 2 together. Okay, so if you can use them together, then you should be on the right track in achieving the highest possible mark. So again, any language paper 2, question 5, this is something that you can use for sure. So they actually go hand in hand with one another. So remember, it's something for you to use. And again, if you can use it effectively, for sure, you will be achieving the highest mark possible. And that takes us towards the end of the video. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe, like and share for more education related videos. Follow us on all social media platforms at Easy Education London. Have a go at this question and let me know in the comment section how your answer was and if you have any confusions, etc. So thank you for watching.